Welcome to the I Learn, Therefore I Can podcast, an iRise performance consulting production where we explore the dynamic world of performance through a learning and development lens with a focus on achieving excellence. I'm your host, Lonney Gregory, and I'm inspired by those of you that wish to be better at what you've been asked to do. Hello, friends. I got to tell you, I think you know, this is the first interview of the podcast I learned, therefore I can. And I remember thinking, who do I want and why? And I wanted this first podcast to be about relationships, friendships, and how significant they are in this industry. And when I thought about the very, very, very first guest that I wanted to talk to, because I wanted to acknowledge that person, is Kevin Duffer. So Kevin's on the show with me. I'm honored, I'm pleased, I'm proud that he agreed, as he said, to be the guinea pig, right? The test rabbit for his first episode. Kevin, thank you so much. But before we get into Kevin, friends, I need to read you his bio. And I need to read it to you because I need you to understand who this dude is. This is my man. So Kevin has his own coaching and consulting company, but that's just a thing to do, right? KLD Coaching and Consulting. He has a mantra that reads, learn, grow, repeat. Learn, grow, repeat. Certainly that resonated with me. So let me just read this. Who am I, he says. I'm an open, energetic, authentic, and highly curious human, work in progress. I am working hard to live by the motto that's tattooed on my arm. Own it, learn from it, do better. I'm husband to my amazing partner in life and father, stepfather to 6 independent thinking kids, from young adults to teenage twin girls. Y'all pray for Kevin now. Excuse me. At my core, I'm a working class kid from Queens, New York, who's done things and been places I never imagined. I embrace nuance and strive to avoid labels. I believe that my greatest positive impact on the world will come through personal interactions with others that fuel continuous exploration and self-development. I'm chasing health, fitness, and longevity so I can have a greater impact for as long as possible. What I've been doing, Kevin tells us. I began my professional career in the Navy. Go Navy. I started to understand the value of service and teamwork. As a civilian, my career took me to leadership roles in consulting, business development, and technology sales. As I progressed down these paths, I gradually realized that my greatest rewards didn't come from bigger roles or bigger titles, but rather from seeing those I worked with, led, and mentored find their own version of success. This realization and the urging of a valued friend and colleague led me to start my own business and complete formal coaching certification via the innovative George Washington University Eco-Leadership Coaching Program. You know, I rehearsed that a couple times, so I can get it right. This program positively reinforced my decision, and I will strive to add value and influence positive change through my coaching interactions. What I do now, he continues. As a business leader in the human capital and talent development market, my teams have helped hundreds of organizations leverage technology to develop people while improving operational efficiencies and effectiveness. My experience has provided me with a solid understanding of business effectiveness, organizational dynamics, leadership models, and development approaches. Throughout my leadership career, I've provided an ad hoc coaching, mentoring, and professional development support to people in and out of my organizations. In earning my leadership coaching certification through the ECO coaching program, I learned the fundamental skills of coaching that I had been lacking. As I progress in my professional coaching career, I will continue to develop my coaching skills while bringing my unique, authentic, and ever-curious style to help those I coach find greater clarity, purpose, and fulfillment. Friends, I had to share that with you. That's my man. That's why I love him. And that's why he was the first person on this podcast. I learned, therefore I can. Kevin, you honor me with your presence. Thank you so much. Dude, how you doing?
Man, I'm humbled. I don't deserve any of that, but I'm happy to take part in this. And you know the joy that I've seen in you as you've planned for this, and you've done your homework and gone to YouTube and figured out how to work the system and how you're going to take it forward. And it's just a joy to see you bringing something to life that's part of you. So very cool, my friend, and happy to be here and humbled by your words, and humbled to be here.
Thank you. Honestly, Kevin and friends out there, truthfully, I wouldn't be in this position had it not been for you. I don't know how you can't imagine how instrumental you've been in my life. And in fact, I didn't even know it until like more recently. We've known each other for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And again, what's fascinating about knowing each other for a long time is we met business, right? You were the head of a sales organization.
Trying
I
to get you
worked
to buy stuff.
directly, right? Trying to get me to buy some. But honestly, you and your people never sold me anything, ever. You just worked with me. You listened to me. You understand what I was trying to accomplish and why. And you just worked it out. And you were always careful, meaning you were full of care for me and what I was trying to accomplish. And then over the years, of course, we stayed in touch. You helped me, you talked to me. And God knows, man, you advocated for me. You put me in front of people. I'm grateful. That's what I want to say. Our relationship is really important. And friends, that's just how he is, right? You heard it in the bio. That's how he is. But Kevin, I am curious about a couple of things, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please dig in.
From the bio, the tattoos. So how many tats do you have?
Got the Yankees on my calf. I've got only about 4 or 5.
4 or 5. That was a Navy thing, right?
No,
No.
no. I never got one in the Navy. Didn't get my first tattoo till I was past 50.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any tattoos. Didn't follow that, but that was cool to know. Kevin, there's something else in your bio that resonated with me. There's a statement where it says, "I embrace nuance," or "you embrace nuance." Say a little bit about that. What does that mean?
I don't know. That might have been a response, and I was writing that specifically for a coaching bio for um, so that was a kind of the genesis of writing it in that format, and I enjoyed doing that. I think we find ourselves in what is all too often black and white positions, and in a very nuanced world. So I don't I don't take I don't I'll take strong positions loosely held, or maybe informed positions loosely held, and I like to understand all the factors that go into behavior, that go into motivation, that go into people's interactions. And I think we're increasingly boxed into north or south, black or white, pick your words for it. And that ain't life. It's much more nuanced than that.
Pound, that ain't life. It is. It is much more nuanced, and I think that that sensitivity is attractive, actually, and it supports just deeper conversations. And you and I have had some cool conversations. Hey, man, you remember one time we were in Florida. I was a guest on your for the company up on stage, and you were asking us, what do we want, right, from your company? It was like the coolest question, like, thank you. Here's what I want, right? But what was amazing is you guys actually listened, and you said, okay, let's go figure this out. Let's go make this happen. Again, I've always been impressed and comforted by you and your team, like always. I never felt pushed or cajoled or forced to make a decision, and it was never like that, man. I appreciated you guys so well, so much.
Been blessed with working with great people.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing in your bio that stuck out to me, Kev, there's a statement that says, "But the 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 satisfaction that you get is not from having bigger roles or bigger titles, but seeing those that you worked with and led and mentored find their own version of success." What have some of those folks done, and why does that bring you joy?
Somebody, I had forgotten, I actually wrote that in that bio. Somebody asked me the other day, as you know, I just recently started a new job leading a new team in technology, learning technology sales. And somebody asked me what my, greatest accomplishment was. And I gave a very similar answer. It's looking around LinkedIn and other places and seeing the places that people have gone since we interacted, and then being able to stay in contact with, much like yourself. We met in one scenario and we've both been through multiple other ones, but you've seen you chart your path, seeing people who are sales leader, people who left the industry and started their own business, people who went to raise horses, but just the quality of folks I've been exposed to in my life and career, and seeing where they've gone. I think at one point especially in a sales career, you want to go run a bigger organization, or, that passes through your mind, the next job. But looking back on an awful lot of years of stuff, it's like when I had small teams and worked in small groups to accomplish a goal, that was the most rewarding time I had. And now I can reach out and talk to many, many folks who are very professionally successful, but personally successful.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's a joy. I mean, it ain't nothing better than that. A sales deal, revenue comes and goes. Hopefully, valuable people stay in your life.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, revenue comes and goes, gigs come and go, jobs come and go, but friendships are lasting, relationships are lasting when you're intentional about maintaining a relationship. I was thinking about, like, why are me and Kevin friends? Like, how did that actually happen? And I think I was thinking about it. I'm trying to, go through my mind, my recollection, and like, you never forget a birthday, like on LinkedIn, right? You always send that note, or if I had the nerve to go ahead and post something, you would always comment. And it just seems that you were very intentional on staying connected. Um, very intentional about being responsive to folks and helpful. Now, is that just a part of your composition, or is that a decision that you made to be you? You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. That's a very good question, because I think it became intentional, and I think LinkedIn helped it become intentional, and then you extend that to Facebook and personal stuff. But from a business and practical standpoint, it was really reinforced during COVID, when I made it a point to go back through the Rolodex Rolodex, what a dated term, but the list of people, and just reconnect with folks that I've not connected with in a while, and made it intentionally every day. I would go reach out to a couple folks who I had not, and then it became, but it became intentional. It was more, and I was more haphazard, but I don't go through and say, hey, let's go graduate everybody's birthdays. But people jump out at you, right? There's people that you don't want to not acknowledge. and I think that's the way I would characterize it. It's because I would, and it's the same people who, when they recognize an event in your life, brings a smile to your face. You say,
Right.
some memory, some positive, something comes up, and you respond to it,
Yeah. Like, I can tell you, I am grateful for your response. I'm just overall grateful, man. Like I said, you've not only been a friend, you've been an advocate, a sponsor, dude. I've had meals because you put me in front of people who can pay me. That is no light thing, right? You I've come to you and said, hey, and you said okay. And within hours I was on a phone call with somebody. I'm grateful. Thank you. Here's what's cool though. I'm grateful for the friendship, but I'm also grateful for that wisdom that you have. Certainly the experience that you have, and just your insight. So what do you see the trends in our space, learning, development, OD, coaching, AI, technology? Like, you've been involved in all of this, man. How do you see it? Where is it going? Where do you want it to go?
Where do I want it to go? Boy, you could, like, I go back to video discs, so that that goes back a ways, right? In
We
the
got some
learning and
gray.
learning
We
tech
got some
business.
gray.
I think there's one thing: the tools and technologies make things possible that we always imagined, and that has been a trend for some time now, because we always imagined getting stuff onto. We imagined YouTube types content, right? We didn't have it, but nobody wanted to sit through 30 minutes if they needed 3. So, and I think that has influenced technology. Video has influenced certainly. Of course, I think we're at the dawn of AI, and you can't not read, but it's really fascinating about where that will take us. And
You
I
have any
think
concerns about AI? I know I do.
none. Well, there's ethical concerns, but as far as being an enabler of very cool stuff, I think there's many concerns. There's a book, Scary Smart, by Mo Gadot. That's if you and it talks about some of the risks,
Scary
very
smart.
contemporary,
Okay.
very scary smart. Yeah, and certainly Mo understands the um, led, I believe, research at Google, so it was. But anyway, so there's certainly concerns. I don't want to diminish those, but I think the positive side is just, it's unavoidable. It's one of those things. It's so powerful, but it's going to change. It certainly has changed learning. Search has changed learning. Google changed learning. I think a lot of companies, like I spent a lot of time with content companies who people did. Part of the problem was people did not go to an LMS, right? They'd really go to somewhere else. There came a time when nobody went to their corporate LMS to find learning. They went to wherever they went to. IT professionals in particular were probably early adopters that, and had use groups and other things that they didn't rely on somebody for a question. They'd go phone a friend and help a friend. And I think that was really fascinating. That's a long way around that question. Certainly AI will play a role, and I don't want to diminish that. There's a whole lot of emphasis on skills. I think one of the things organizations never really captured and always strove to capture and still strive to capture is, what do my folks need to do to be efficient in their job? And how can I get them efficient in their job as quickly as possible? And I went through 52 weeks of school in the Navy to be an inertial navigation tech, and I probably could have done 3 weeks and a lot of on-job training when people were hitting me over the head and say, "Why? Here's the way you do it, stupid." That's just a gross example, but I was not the things that a lot of what I learned I didn't use, and I think the same thing in every training program. So organizations are struggling with that, but the ability to capture interactivity and knowledge and insights from interactions and technologies is really is profound.
It is. It is. So, Kevin, again, from your bio and people that know you, we know you have this technical background. You're an officer of the United States Navy. Certainly you've learned, and that's one of the other things you and I have in common, which is really cool. We kind of understand how that set us up, right, in a way. And you still actively work in the industry, in the technology space. But the thing you decided to get into was the coaching, right? Tell us about why some portion of your being said, I got to go be better at that thing than this other thing.
Yeah. It, I think it was the realization that that's how behavior change takes place. And that maybe was the most influence I could have in at least opening minds and making people think. And I think I learned during the class, we talked about this a little bit earlier, I learned the difference between coaching and mentoring and guiding. It's letting people explore and find their own answers as opposed. And I was really the temptation. I still, as with a consulting background and a sales leadership background, I got to bite my tongue and not try to suggest answers, but really work on letting people find answers and explore things and give them a framework for exploration and self-exploration. But that's meaningful.
Wow. Cool.
It's like conversations you and I have all the time. We kind of push each other when we're and just test things and push things and not be afraid to question.
Right. I tell you, I've always valued and cherished our conversations. And by the way, friends, April 10th, the day this is being recorded, is my birthday. And honest to God, this is no lie. Kevin called me, what was it, 8:39 this morning?
Something like that.
You were the first call of the day. You beat my sisters, my daughters, my kids, friends. Kevin is, well, actually he was the second. I'm not going to talk about the first, but Kevin was the very first other person to call me this morning and wish me a happy birthday.
Like I can't take a lot of credit for that. I got prompted by LinkedIn.
Yeah, but you could have waited. You could have done anything else, dude. But you called me, so I'm grateful. So Kev, check this out. You know the podcast. I got some questions that I need to ask, but they are relevant to who we are, how we are, and what I want to understand and share with the world. Share with us, what you believe one of your greatest learning experiences has been.
Certainly, most recently, going through the coaching program and exposing myself to things like, it's amazing. Number one, I'll plug the program, GW, and other coaching programs have great program. Really creative program, open-minded, broad-thinking people from all over the world, which was kind of cool. But also being able to embrace things like dreams. I still didn't really buy in, but a chunk of I didn't, buy-in's not right, but I was able to embrace every part of the program and really feel engaged and energized by the people around me in the cohort, even if we were touching on areas that would have been uncomfortable at a different part of my life. Sitting around and thinking about analyzing dreams would have made me uncomfortable, or I would have walked away from. So I think embracing curiosity for sure is, and embracing the natural curiosity and not being afraid to try things. The other, I'd go way, way, way back when I first joined the Navy, and I didn't realize what an impact that had on me at the time. But the ability to, I think of it this way: when I was on a nuclear submarine at 20 years old, I had more responsibility, business responsibility, than I've ever had since.
Whoa.
I knew what to do, and it was probably the best trained and best prepared I've ever been in my life. You didn't have to think a lot because everything was laid out, but you knew what to do if there was a fire, if there was water in the people tank, and things like that. And I didn't appreciate what that meant to me, and then look back 40 plus years later and connect in Facebook and connect with people who were there and say, God darn, I was amongst some cool people. That's why I always have affinity for folks who wear or have worn a uniform in whatever ilk you wear it. It's some of the most talented, committed people you'll ever meet. And you take that through generations, and you take that through jobs. It's people who do that are special. And I didn't realize it at the time. I was, miserable. I was a miserable enlisted guy.
Yeah, I wanted to go into the subservice, was prevented from doing so. I told you the story. I'm not going to say it out loud, friends. If you want to know the story, you're going to have to write me or call me or something. So here's another question, Kev. So I know you were in the Navy, nuclear submarine. You did the navigation system. And by the way, that's some of the most sophisticated, complicated, complex systems, global systems available to mankind, particularly at the time when you served. But you didn't stay in the nuts and bolts and the electronics and the circuits. You moved into the training space. How did that happen?
Looking for a job. And I also realized that I was going to suck in technical stuff, and that's why, I actually got an associate's. My first degree was an associate's degree in electronics, and I said, I'm not going to do this for life.
Me too.
So I got a job at Mantech, working with the Trident submarine training facility, and actually specifically selling what we were selling to the UK. And that was physical trainers. And then we got into labs and building things. And so it became an area of expertise that became an area of passion.
Got you. Yeah.
And I was able to see
so
go
much,
from
man.
trainers to working in instructor-led training to working in custom e-learning to selling off-the-shelf e-learning and platforms. And it's been an area of, I just woke up recently when you and I were talking about changing jobs. I said, man, I really miss that space. I miss everything about that space. I miss the possibilities.
Well, I for one am glad you joined that space, or we would have never met. So along those lines, or just another question. So again, this podcast, this thing that I'm trying to get people to buy into is, I learned, therefore I can. If you were going to fill in the blanks, Kevin, I learned X, therefore I can Y. What would X and Y be?
I learned the value of curiosity. Therefore, I believe I can do pretty much anything.
Wow. That's what's up.
I think there's certainly levelers there in skill and talent and all the other things, but I think learning provides barriers. I mean, removes barriers. And I think I can't think of a specific thing. I can more think of an attitude, and that's going kind of full circle to your question about the industry and possibilities. It's easier today to learn anything you need to learn and find any expert you wish to connect with than it's ever been before.
Right.
Use it. Use it. Use
so
the power.
That's it, friends.
The stuff does that. Use your network. Use the technology, and be curious.
That's it. So, friends, here it is. I learned to be curious. Therefore, I could do anything.
Not necessarily well.
Well, not necessarily well, but give it a shot, right? Give it our best shot. So, dude, one last question. And it's the question that I didn't ask you. What would you like our friends, the people who are most likely to listen to this, and then those who stumble across it, what would you like us to know? What question do you wish I asked that you could answer that I didn't, but you can just tell us anyway?
That's a tough one. You never know enough. I've applied that in sales and accounts and research a lot with the teams I work with, and I believe it. Right? You're doing research. You never know enough to sell to a Lonney. You never know enough to know that you know your competitors. But I think you could extend that to and that would be advice that I'd give. You'd never know enough. So it ties directly to curiosity for sure, but it ties to most business situations, most life situations. There's things happening outside of the sphere of stuff that you don't really appreciate. And that might go to nuance too. That might go to appreciate the nuances of the situation. Appreciate that there's things going on that you don't. So stay hungry, stay curious.
Stay hungry, stay curious. You can never know enough.
You never know enough.
Thank you, Kevin. Friends, Kevin L. Duffer. I forgot to ask you, what is the L for?
Lynn, Lynn.
Lynn, my man, Kevin
Family
Lynn
name.
Duffer. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard very briefly from one of the coolest guys on the planet. Guy I get to call friend, mentor, coach, advocate, just everything. He means a lot to me. He will continue to mean a lot to me. He's meant a lot to others. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can hit him up. I'm sure he'll respond. Tell him your birthday. He'll call you at 8:39. Kevin, thank you so much for being.
Man. Don't be looking for that box to open.
Right, but thank you for being the very first guest in this conversation. I'd like to call you back later on if that's cool, when I get some other folks in there to talk about the technology space.
I look forward to seeing who's next, man, and following you as you go down this path. And again, I'm humbled and happy and proud, and proud of you.
Thank you, Kevin. Wouldn't be here without you.
No, that's not true, but but really, I love seeing that smile on your face, man. You're doing something that brings joy to you.
I do. Anyway, friends, you've been listening to I Learned, Therefore I Can. Inaugural episode, first guest, Kevin Duffer, because relationships count, learning matters, performance counts. Peace. Y'all be well.
Indeed. See you, buddy. Take care, everybody.
That concludes this episode of I Learn, Therefore I Can, an iRise Consulting Performance podcast. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling better about being better at what I was asked to do. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. And thanks for learning. Because learning matters and performance counts. Be well.